Hello and welcome to the mandersmedia 7-day review. This is a look back at 7 records added to the store between the 17th and 23rd of August. But rather than simply running through what arrived, I've picked 7 records with stories that I think are genuinely worth telling. We'll start with Yes and Yessongs. Yessongs is a triple live album, but there's something unusual about the drumming. You're actually hearing 2 different Yes drummers across the record. Bill Bruford had recorded Close to the Edge before leaving Yes to join King Crimson. Alan White was brought in to replace him and was given only 3 days to learn the band's live repertoire before his first concert. Most of Yessongs features White, but 3 tracks preserve Bruford's earlier performances, meaning the album captures both sides of a major change in the band. If you like progressive rock from the early 70s, particularly King Crimson, Genesis, and the more ambitious end of the genre, Yessongs is a fascinating document as well as a live album. Next, Eurythmics and Sweet Dreams are made of this. The title track sounds like a defining piece of early 80s electronic pop, but not every sound on it came from a synthesizer. Dave Stewart has explained that he and Annie Lennox actually played milk bottles. They filled the bottles with different amounts of water until they were in tune, and then experimented with hitting them with pieces of wood and metal to find the right sound. It was partly necessity. Eurythmics were working with a very basic recording setup and very little money. So tucked inside one of the most recognizable synth-pop records of the decade is the sound of Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart playing tuned milk bottles. For fans of Yazoo, Depeche Mode and early Human League, this is a great example of how inventive electronic music could be when the equipment was relatively primitive. Now for something completely different, a journey into stereo sound. This Decca demonstration record was made to show off the possibilities of stereo reproduction. Decades later, however, part of it acquired a completely different cultural life. The record begins with Jeffrey Sumner saying, "This is a journey into sound." Jonathan Moore of Cold Cut found the record while looking for samples, and that introduction ended up in Cold Cut's famous 7 Minutes of Madness remix of Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full. The remix became a UK hit in 1987, so a spoken introduction from a vintage hi-fi demonstration record ended up becoming one of the most recognizable samples in hip-hop and remix culture. That's one of my favorite connections from the week, because the 2 records come from completely different musical worlds. Our 4th record is Frankie Goes To Hollywood's Welcome to the Pleasuredome. Before their debut album had even finished producing hit singles, Frankie had achieved something remarkable. Relax went to number 1, 2 Tribes went to number 1, and then The Power of Love went to number 1 as well. That made Frankie Goes To Hollywood only the 2nd act in UK chart history to reach number 1 with their first 3 singles, after Jerry and the Pacemakers had done it in the 60s. All 3 songs appear on Welcome to the Pleasuredome, so the album contains one of the most extraordinary opening runs of singles by any British pop group. If you like Trevor Horn's production, Propaganda, Pet Shop Boys, or the more extravagant side of 80s pop, there's an enormous amount going on here. Next we go much further back with William Kimber and the Art of William Kimber. Kimber was a concertina player and Morris dancer from Headington Quarry in Oxford. On Boxing Day '89, the Headington Quarry Morris dancers went out performing because bad winter weather had left some of them short of work. One of the people who saw them was Cecil Sharp. Sharp heard Kimber playing for the dancers and asked him to return the following day so he could write down some of the tunes. That chance meeting became hugely important to the 20th century revival of English Morris dancing and traditional music. Sharp later acknowledged just how important Kimber had been to getting that movement started. So this isn't simply a traditional folk record, it connects directly with one of the key moments in the preservation and revival of English folk culture. Number 6 is Jethro Tull and Living in the Past. Ian Anderson's manager, Terry Ellis, asked him to write something catchy and radio-friendly that could be released while the band were touring America. Anderson agreed, but effectively treated the request as a joke. He deliberately tried to make the song uncommercial. He called it Living in the Past, and more importantly, wrote it in 5/4 time. an unusual rhythm for a pop single, and one which he thought would make it particularly difficult to dance to. And then, against his expectations, it became a hit. Living in the Past reached number 3 in the UK singles chart. So Ian Anderson was asked to write a commercial hit, deliberately wrote something he thought was unlikely to work as one, and ended up with one of Jethro Tull's best-known songs anyway. For anyone interested in progressive rock or unusual time signatures, it's a wonderful example of something musically odd crossing into mainstream pop. And finally, Electric Light Orchestra and Out of the Blue. At the end of Mr. Blue Sky, there's a vocoder voice, which people have interpreted in various ways over the years. But the words are actually very practical. It says, "Please turn me over." Mr. Blue Sky finishes side 3 of the original double LP, so the vocoder is literally giving the listener an instruction. Turn the record over and continue with side 4. It's a tiny detail, but it belongs completely to the physical experience of listening to the album on vinyl, and it makes far less sense in the world of streaming. Out of the Blue is classic Electric Light Orchestra, orchestral pop, rock, studio experimentation, and Jeff Lynne packing ideas into almost every available space. So those are my 7 picks from the week of the 17th to the 23rd of August. From 2 drummers in Yes, to Eurythmics playing Milk Bottles, from a Decca stereo demonstration turning up in hip-hop, to a vocoder politely telling you to turn over an Electric Light Orchestra record. If one of those stories was new to you, let me know which one in the comments. You can browse the latest Manders Media stock at mandersmedia.co.uk/discogs. And if you enjoy collector facts, unusual musical connections, and new arrivals, like the video, subscribe, and I'll be back with another 7-day review. Thanks for watching.